3 years ago, a nervous independent developer by the name of Martin Celine appeared in front of millions of online viewers to both announce his new game Unravel and herald the beginning of a new initiative from EA Originals. His charming nervousness was a welcome change from the typical FIFA and Madden presentations that had stunted and still stunt their E3 presentations. The handmade rendition of the game's mascot, Yarny, melted the hearts of even the coldest internet skeptics. It might be the most real, passionate presentation on an EA stage, only competing with the electric Joseph Fares or the newly revealed Sea of Solitude. Released in February 2016, Unravel didn't exactly shake the world up. However, it did mark a huge step forward for EA's public image and their stance towards smaller, narrative-driven experiences. So far, the EA Originals program hasn't knocked all of its efforts out of the park. Faye claimed a similar critical response to Unravel, but A Way Out did showcase Hazelight Studios' ability to tell an engaging story while delivering on diverse, inventive co-op gameplay. At EA Play 2018, the man who once trembled in nervous excitement returned to EA's stage, but without any noticeable jitters. Coldwood was back to announce a sequel to Unravel, this time featuring cooperative play. The entire game would be able to be played either cooperatively or alone, however 2 Yarnies would always persist, though they can be joined together for solo players. This begs 2 questions. First of all, how does it stack up compared to the other EA Originals? But second of all, how does Unravel 2 feel in playing alone, with all of the emphasis on co-op? Pace is an important part of platformers, side-scrollers in particular. It's important to be able to tackle challenges as fast or as slow as necessary, and to have the right controls to make it all possible. Games like Super Mario Bros. Absolutely nail this, bringing a perfect balance between short, diverse levels and fast, responsive controls. Unravel 2 has the controls part nailed. Yarny can wall jump and swing with the kind of precision the player needs. That's part 1 of the equation figured out, but the pacing is where Unravel 2 suffers the most. Its pacing issues are twofold, on a length level and on a player level, though only the latter is an issue during solo play. Unravel 2 isn't like Brothers: A Tale of Two Sons, the game that preceded the previous EA Originals game, A Way Out. The player must take control of each Yarny separately rather than control them both at the same time, or have an AI take over. While this does prevent frustration from either questionable controls or an uncontrollable companion, it slows the pace down considerably, since the player must take control and position each Yarny separately to solve puzzles and traverse platforming sections. All in all, this isn't a bad thing by any means, but it does lengthen the game as a whole, and it shows Unravel 2's creative emphasis on cooperative play in a way that directly affects solo play. Most of the time though, the player can combine the 2 Yarnies with a simple button hold, making it so moment-to-moment traversal throughout the level is much simpler and more efficient. This is especially useful in certain sections that require the player to avoid shadow-like creatures that act as stage hazards, instantly killing Yarny if the player touches them. Unravel 2's cooperative play isn't just a tacked-on experience to allow for friends and family members to join in on the fun. The entire game is designed around having 2 players using each other to swing, climb, and solve puzzles. Both Yarnies are connected by a string, which not only serves as a form of cooperative symbolism, but also as a core gameplay mechanic. A player can climb this string to reach the other Yarny, creating fun and unique solutions to puzzles and platforming. It can even be used as a failsafe in certain scenarios. Sometimes it's best to traverse a certain section of a level using 1 Yarny, then latch onto the string in case the player misses a jump, or the other way around. Sometimes it's best to make it across using 1 Yarny, then simply have the other one use the string to make it across without any challenge. It is worth noting though that checkpoints are quite generous and the punishment for failure isn't too severe. Regardless, it's a fun, rewarding mechanic that harkens back to the classic Portal phrase, "Now you're thinking with portals," but rather than thinking with portals, Unravel 2 has the player thinking with strings. All of this is well and good, but it comes at the cost of something mentioned earlier, its length, namely the length of its levels. Each level feels just a little too long for its own good. Back to Super Mario Bros. What makes those games among side-scrolling royalty is the just one more mentality. Every level is long enough to exemplify a specific mechanic or idea, but short enough to leave the player wanting more. In Unravel 2, each level overstays its welcome by a large margin. Instead of coming out of each level wanting more, it felt much easier to call it a day after each one's completion. By chopping the levels into smaller, more digestible chunks, Unravel 2 could have been something truly special in that regard. Instead, Unravel 2 is a game that's hard to come back back to after putting it down. It's hard to feel an innate desire to return to Unravel 2, since its long levels tire the player instead of enticing them. Unravel 2 does feature a slew of smaller challenge rooms, but they're completely optional, though they do offer unique customization options for both Yarnies, who can be customized to the player's liking in a variety of ways. A smaller complaint, though one that still affected the overall gameplay experience, is also one of Unravel's most defining features, its realistic visuals. While each environment is gorgeous, the environmental diversity left much to be desired, with a heavy portion of Unravel 2's levels taking place in either a forested area, a cave, or industrial areas. It also doesn't help that, more often than not, the dim lighting found in the game's various caverns and crevices can make it hard to see exactly what's happening on screen. On multiple occasions, it was hard to tell where certain string bridges were going, as well as where Yarny was on screen. This can be fixed by increasing the game's brightness settings, of course, but it's strange that the default settings made it so difficult to see at times. Unravel 2 is an enigma. While playing, it's a wonderful time, filled with clever design and precise controls. There's a lot to love in this game. However, when removing oneself from the game for a while, there isn't much desire to return. Levels have some replayability for things like collectibles, speedruns, and no-death challenges, but overall they're too long to inspire that let's do it again mentality. Of course, this could change when playing cooperatively, which is how this game is definitely meant to be played. Unravel 2 takes full advantage of cooperative play, but it can occasionally come at the cost of fluid, well-paced solo play. As a solo experience, it might be hard to justify the asking price, despite its creative fun. Even with 2 Unravel games, Coldwood Interactive still has a lot to learn, though, if this game is any indication, then audiences should be very excited to see where they go next. There's real potential here, a solid foundation. Unravel 2 may be hit or miss, but it's worth playing just to watch a studio gain its footing in really exciting ways. It might be a hard game to pick up after putting down, but Unravel 2 is definitely worth picking up in the first place.